623 day of Russian invasion straight from Ukraine. Significant developments are emerging from the Kherson area today. In this region, Ukrainian troops have intensified their activities on the river's eastern shore, expanding their foothold and initiating the transfer of heavy machinery across the river. Initially today, reports from Russian sources indicated that the Ukrainians undertook their initial heavy equipment river crossing. Following the release of this footage by the Russians, the Ukrainians didn't dispute these reports and acknowledged the movement of an armored fighting vehicle to Krynky. Several analysts have inferred that, considering the bridgehead's extent, it's premature for a substantial vehicular movement due to limited space for effective operation. Additionally, Russian reports claim that Ukrainian forces are frequently engaging Russian targets using tank fire. The terrain of the area provides a significant strategic benefit to the Ukrainians. As the river's western side is essentially a large hill, in contrast, the eastern side of the river is almost completely flat, placing every Russian position along the river, including their settlements, under full direct fire control. This landscape enables Ukrainian infantry to act with tank support without requiring the movement of these tanks across the river. Starting today, the Ukrainians are set to deploy heavy machinery on the river's eastern side. This move is expected, given the significant expansion of their bridgehead over the past week. Despite ongoing bombings, Ukrainian forces have successfully retained control over Krynky's central region. Russian troops have expressed dissatisfaction with their air support, criticizing the ineffectiveness of the indiscriminate dropping of FAB 500 bombs in areas previously occupied by Ukrainian forces, with these attacks yielding minimal results. Russian leaders, believing their assault preparations were complete, dispatched a contingent to secure a sector in Krynky. Regrettably for the Russians, the mission failed disastrously. Video evidence revealed that upon entering the village, the Russians were met with the realization of a widespread Ukrainian presence, effectively trapping themselves. The Russian force attempted an immediate withdrawal to the nearby forest, only to find Ukrainian troops anticipating them there. Alerted by their drone reconnaissance that spotted the approaching Russians, Ukrainian forces had strategically positioned a squad to block all Russian escape paths. Consequently, as the Russian group neared the forest, they were comprehensively eliminated by machine gun fire. Numerous videos by Ukrainian combatants depicted their systematic dismantlement of Russian military presence on the village's edges, progressively driving them back. In one such video, Ukrainian forces were seen identifying Russian troops transporting ammunition by vehicles and swiftly annihilating them using kamikaze drones, instances of Russians utilizing civilian trucks, subsequently targeted and destroyed, were also recorded as Russian control waned and they retreated to the village outskirts. They deployed armored combat vehicles, although requiring multiple drones. These vehicles were pursued, and their occupants were eliminated. Footage from Media's Birds Battalion's drone operators showcased their successful targeting and destruction of both a T-90M and a T-72 tank, which had engaged Ukrainian forces. The frequency of drone attacks escalated swiftly, leading to grievances among Russian soldiers about the overwhelming presence of Ukrainian drones, causing them to take 7 hours to traverse a mere 4 kilometers. The Russians began experiencing significant losses, including personnel, howitzers, and various heavy machinery, not just along the riverbank, but also in the vicinities of Chelberda, Radynsk, Pishchane, and Abrivka. A key factor in the extensive drone utilization is Ukraine's success in locating and neutralizing numerous Russian electronic warfare systems today. There were observations of Russians moving complex systems like Delhi, yet, as soon as one was deployed, it was promptly annihilated by a decisive strike. This dominant control over the area enabled the Ukrainians to launch an additional amphibious assault, this time in the northwest region near Pidstepny. Reports from Russian sources indicate that members of Ukraine's 35th Marine Brigade crossed the river, expelled Russian forces from their primary defense line, and secured a foothold. In tandem, Ukrainian forces escalated their offensives on Poima, Piskanivka, and Krynky, pinning down Russian units. The operation proved effective, allowing the Ukrainians to expand and fortify their new position between Pidstepny and Kosachev-Lehi. The Russian Defense Ministry indirectly acknowledged Ukrainian advancements by announcing continuous military engagements at various locations on the eastern bank of the river. This situation clearly dismayed the Russian military leadership, dismayed by their front commanders' inability to maintain their positions. Consequently, the Russian General Staff dismissed Major General Makarovich, commander of the Kherson group of forces. These frequent changes in leadership amidst a crumbling defense line are auspicious for Ukraine. As the situation unfolds, a ramp-up in offensive actions in this area is anticipated. Presenting a challenging choice for the Russians, they must decide whether to rapidly bolster their forces here, potentially detracting from their innovative offensive elsewhere, or risk further Ukrainian gains in the Kherson region.